Oh, yeah, there's a good. Well, hey there, college football family. It's me again, Mamaw Coop. My grandson Coop, he said, Mamaw, if you want to be on my college football channel again this season, talk a little bit of foosball. They love you over there. He said, you come right back. And I said, well, yeah, I think most of them did like me, but boy, I did see some of them mean-ass comments. Some of them real dirty ones. Some of them just real dirty. but Mamaw Coop forgives you, 'cause I'm a nice lady, you know? And we're just out here night fishing by the lake, and my grandson Coop, he said, Mamaw, we probably don't want to be out there. He said, there's probably some big-ass gators in the lake. And I said, grandson, you think your Mamaw Coop scared of a gator? Not me. I'm out here looking for some big old bass, though. Coop ain't probably gonna catch nothing but a couple little brim, you know. I just thought we could talk a little bit of foosball for a few minutes, maybe tell some stories from back in the day. And speaking of, Coop, did I ever tell you about the time that Mario Cristobal, he worked for Yunge's Papaw? I couldn't remember if hold on just a second. I couldn't remember if I ever told you that story when they was down on the recruiting trail, and it was snowing. It was snowing real hard. They was on the way to recruit that big 5-star running back out to Miami, you know. Oh Lordy! Oh, Coop, that's a big one. I think it might be a gator. Oh, Lordy, Coop, grab his tail. Get the duck tail. Spot the ball, bitches.
You wanna? Look, we could complete it. We could if you do this, we could complete it. What's going on, Canes fans? Do you smell it? Florida week is officially here, and I've been waiting for this one. Many of you know that Florida is my most hated team, and it's not even close. I do want to warn you that it's going to be a struggle for me to remain objective in this preview video, but I'll do my best. But let's be honest here. It's pretty easy to dog the Florida Gators right now because they're on the struggle bus. They beat Long Island in week 1, and since then it all fell apart. But to be fair, it was never really together in the first place, was it? What's wild is that Florida does have a talented roster on paper, and if we're being honest, this will probably be the most talented roster that Miami sees out of the remaining games. But again, this is on paper. And guess what? The games aren't played on paper, which is very unfortunate for Billy Napier. With College Game Day rolling into town and that putting this game on blast, could a blowout win for Miami be the nail in the coffin for Billy?
I'm in danger.
What happened to spot the ball, Billy? So I just realized that many of you may not understand the spot the ball reference. I've said it multiple times in this video, and it's me poking fun at Florida fans because that was their comeback every single time that you would try to talk about your team playing the Florida Gators. And their coach, Billy Napier, said this in a couple of press conferences, and most notably, the SEC Network tweeted out, "It doesn't get any tougher than the SEC," when speaking on Florida's difficult conference schedule. And he replied with, "Spot the ball." So, of course, the fans took hold of this. They thought it was great. They pushed it all off season. You know, it was a little catchphrase, I guess you could say, or a motto for the team. So That's why we're talking about it. That's why we bring it up. We make fun of them. Yes, this is what we do. Coaching is something that's obviously holding this team back in a big way, and it doesn't help that the quarterback, everyone hyped up all offseason, DJ Lagway, missed spring and most of fall camp. And it shows. He dealt with a lingering shoulder injury and even had a calf strain at some point. He's just way out of rhythm and not processing fast enough. He really needed those extra reps in the offseason. Now, to be real, Florida isn't too bad defensively, but they just have no pass rush. It actually grades out as the lowest pressure rate in the P4, and they're about to go up against one of the top offensive lines in the country. And speaking of Miami, this team overall is starting to look like one of the best in the country. Very efficient on offense. The Canes have outscored opponents 121-39 in the first 3 games. And Mario Cristobal did mention that both JoJo Trader and Jordan Lyles should be a full go for the Florida game, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But let's take a quick look at the history between these two teams. Miami and Florida have faced off 57 times in total, with the Canes leading the series 30-27. The most recent matchup was last year, and boy, what a game that was. Miami on top, 41-17. Let's also take a look at some average stats so far this season for both squads. Coming into this matchup, Florida averaging points per game at 27, Miami a whopping 40. Points allowed against them, we have a tie here. Florida 13, Miami 13. Both of these numbers very respectable. Yards gain per game average 391 for Florida, 486 for Miami. Yards allowed 264 for UF, 279 for Miami. And third down conversion percentage, just keep in mind that I round these numbers up or down respectively. 40% for Florida and 50% for Miami. And how about 3 keys to a victory, brought to you by this video sponsor, Sleeper. This is the #1 sports app, period. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on games in real time with other users. Get blazing fast news and updates right at your fingertips, play in fantasy leagues, and even win real money on picks contests. Download the #1 sports app, Sleeper, down in the description below. Just make sure that you use code word COOP when you do, and they will match 100% of your first deposit up to $100. So coming in at #1 for Miami, take away Lagway's deep ball shots. He really seems to struggle against cover 2 or cover 2 man. He's attempted 7 deep shots so far this season, completing just 1 of them for 41 yards. And guess what? 3 were picks. So toss those 2 safeties back there, Heatherman, and make Lagway uncomfortable. #2, honestly, don't be afraid to air it out a bit. I obviously expect Miami to run the ball, and the ground game will be effective. But earlier I mentioned how Florida's D-line has struggled to pressure the quarterback. Carson Beck should have all night to sit back there and pick them apart. So the opportunity for chunk plays should be there. And lastly, do not play down to the competition. This was not a key against USF because they had everyone's attention. We all know this Florida team stinks, but Miami better come out like they're playing the #1 team in the country. Plus, College Game Day creates some additional distractions. I mean, some people look at this as a good thing, and it is because it's a lot of eyes on Miami, but there's a lot of extra things going on, interviews and things that take some time away from studying for Florida and preparing for them. So Miami just has to lock in and take this opponent seriously. Well, it's prediction time. But before I give my pick, let's check in with the green guy who did in fact get it right last week.
Pickle predicts.
Will the Miami Hurricanes win this football game against the Florida Gators?
Yes, 100 times yes!
Okay, so the pickle has spoken. Let's see if Max can go back to back. Okay, so we've got the treats in the bowls. It's up to you, Maxwell. And he chooses the Florida Gators with the upset. Oh, man. It might be because we forgot to put the Miami Hurricanes collar on him. I don't know. Or he's just feeling like the Gators are going to handle business. I think he's actually just mad that I woke him up and made him pick. So here's the picks tracker, and it looks like right now I'm in the lead at 3-0. But we've got lots of football left, so anything could happen. And something that I forgot to do last week was show the simulated scores. So in the CPU versus CPU matchup against Florida in the offseason in CFB 26, against Florida, the Gators actually won 37-31. They are a big-time favorite in the game. At least they were in the offseason. I don't know if they have EA's made some changes to some things in the game. I don't really know. But they racked up a ton of rushing yards in that one. And it wasn't even DJ Lagway. It was their running back. And he seems to be pretty good this season as well. As for the Coach Coop plays version, okay, yeah, that says 71-10, Florida. Don't make me relive that nightmare. Final look here at the ESPN matchup predictor before I give my pick, which gives Miami a 75.2% chance to win this game and Florida 24.8%. Over on FanDuel, they have Miami listed as a 7.5-point favorite, with the over-under coming in at 51.5 points. Miami only being a 7.5-point favorite is sort of weird, right? With the way Miami has been playing versus what we've seen from Florida so far this season, a lot of people were asking the question, what does Vegas know that we don't going into this game? Because initially, I believe on ESPN Bet, maybe, Miami had opened as just a 3 or a 3.5-point favorite, which, if that were still the case, throw the mortgage on it. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. But 7.5 still feels like a low number for Miami, doesn't it? And I really tried to sit down when taking notes for this and think about this again objectively, set the fandom to the side, Coop. But the only things that I could really come up with was maybe that Florida is desperate, which obviously could be very dangerous. A wounded animal backed into a corner type situation, Billy out there coaching to save his life. Or maybe it's because they played a highly ranked LSU team, and even after turning the ball over 5 times, they still only gave up 20 points. They technically, again, do have a lot of talent on their team. It just seems like they're poorly coached. With that being said, I think that Miami puts up 38. And I'm going to give the Florida Gators 13. So that is a 25-point win for the Miami Hurricanes. I'm going to be honest here. Mario and Billy are both in year 4, but the trajectories of the two programs look much different, don't they? It's too late for Billy. Let's be real. He's already lost the respect of the fans and his players. I hope it's Miami by 100. Honestly, I can't stand the Florida Gators. One of the most delusional fan bases that I have ever interacted with, and of course, it's not all of them, but I'm speaking here as a whole. And it's funny because now they're down and out. There's no one to go back and forth with about this game on Twitter. They have no hope. They don't believe even a little bit, which I get after the way they've played these last few weeks. But 38-13, let me know down in the comments if I'm out of my mind, if this is too close. You think Miami's going to hang 50 on these guys? Again, I think that they are decent defensively. I think that even though one of the keys was for Miami to air it out, because I think the opportunities will be there, I do expect the Canes to run the ball quite a bit, especially if Jordan Lyle is back in the game and you have that 1-2 punch. Brown's been doing his thing, don't get me wrong, but if you have that Fletcher-Lyle combo. So I've got 38-13. You know what to do. Chop it up down in the comments. And also, I have a very special guest picker for this one. And I would kind of like to see what he has to say about it as well. You guys might know him. So, I told you guys that I was going to bring on a special guest at the tail end of the video. And I don't know if you guys know him or not. It's Uncle Lou. And I just, look, here's the deal. I know that this guy has history, with Carson Beck. And yes, the biggest closet Miami Hurricanes fan that I do know.
I forget which woozy gave this to me.
I know a feller that went and had that custom made. I feel like that you have a little bit of love for Miami, even though the viewers don't think so because you troll pretty hard. But I know you got a little bit of love in there for the Canes. You have history with Carson Beck. You have history with Florida. And we've both heard a lot of this spot the ball stuff that's been going around. I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts. Miami only favored by 7.5. Is that being disrespectful to Miami? Is DJ Lagway going to flip a switch on Saturday night and Billy Napier coaches the game of his life and saves his job? Talk to me.
Well, before I get to the game, you mentioned a soft spot for Miami or something like that. I have told this story a couple of times. I don't like to tell it because I get trolled into oblivion, but I'm gonna tell it because I care about you, Coop. I was raised in a Major League Baseball and NFL household, not a college football household. My dad went to Georgia Southern, but he really, still to this day, only really cares about college football to the extent that I'm involved in it. That's really it. He's a Falcons guy and a Braves guy. So I was raised, you watch the Braves during the week, you watch the Falcons on Sunday. We didn't sit around and watch college football on Saturdays. I didn't become much of a college football fan really until middle school. But two things. The first college football game that I ever remember watching was Miami versus Penn State. And I think the Fiesta Bowl in like 1986 or something, 87. I'm not a Miami fan, so I'm not a Miami historian expert, but it was somewhere around there. I was 8 or 9 years old. And that was the first full college football game I ever watched. So that's one soft spot for Miami there. Number two, like everybody else on the planet, when I was in 5th or 6th grade, Santa brought me a Miami Hurricane starter jacket. Oh, I'm down bad right now. I'm down so bad right now. Now, don't tell anybody that.
This is definitely making the final cut.
If this gets out, that would completely ruin my reputation. But I did have a Miami Hurricanes starter. I rectified that situation a few years ago. I actually found on eBay a vintage Georgia Bulldog starter jacket from that same era. So I now have the right one. But I did have a Miami starter jacket when I was in like 5th grade, but everybody had a Miami Hurricane starter.
That's fair.
I didn't even know what it was. All right, now on to the game. I picked Miami to win this game way back into preseason before, we saw Florida lose to South Florida, which is really the only surprising result I've seen from Florida this year is that loss. I thought they would win that one. I had them losing to LSU, losing to y'all. So nothing really surprising in terms of the results. But like DJ Lagway last week was surprising to me. Like as much as I hate Florida, I kind of bought into the DJ Lagway hype to the extent that I thought he was going to be really good. I didn't think it would amount to anything in terms of Florida's record. I had them at 7-5 again this season. I wasn't one of these people who thought they were winning 9+ games and possible playoff. I never bought into that, but I did think DJ Lagway was the real deal. And, who knows? Maybe it was just a terrible game. But beyond that, he's got like now 15 interceptions and 10 touchdowns. That's his stat line against FBS opponents. I mean, if you take out the FCS stats that he racked up against Epstein Island in week 1 this year and whatever dead bodies they played last year, he's got 15 interceptions and 10 touchdowns against the FBS. It's not even that's not great. That's terrible.
Yeah,
like that's not even
bad.
Okay. That's not even that's not even okay for a first-year starter. Like that's horrendous, a 15-10 rate. And what's worse is that the coaching staff, and particularly Billy Napier, doesn't seem to recognize it. They kept putting him in there series after series and kept throwing the ball like they were down 40. I mean, as bad as it looked, they were only down 10 points in the second half of that game, and they just keep sending Lagway out there with the air raid. It makes no sense. Jordan Ball or Jaden Ball, whatever his name is, that running back, he's the best player on their team offensively.
Yes, I agree.
Why is he not running the ball? So there's so many issues at Florida, and I just don't think they're going to be able to correct it this season. Last year he was able to kind of keep it together. Mertz got hurt. They had the true freshman phenom Lagway that they could throw in the game that provided like that juice and that spark of electricity and a little bit of hope to the fan base and things like that. And they were able to win a couple of games, down the stretch there that people didn't see them winning, the LSU and the Ole Miss game. I don't know what sort of magic bullet they could possibly pull out this year to kind of have a repeat of that. I think what's more likely to happen this year is that they just completely fall apart. It's hard to keep a team together like that when you start losing in such a big way. And to Billy Napier's credit, again, he was able to do that last year. The first 5 or 6 games of the season couldn't have been any worse for Florida. And he somehow kind of kept it between the white lines there the last month of the season. And like I said, even a couple of big wins. I just don't think that's going to happen this year. A lot of those players, I think, are probably already looking towards the December portal window. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think Miami's scoring 50 points here.
I don't either. I have Miami under 40 at the moment.
Yeah. My favorite bet on the game is the under on the point total. It's like at 51 or something. Because I don't think Florida's going to be able to score much at all. And I could see Miami getting into the high 20s or 30s or something maybe. But it's just it hasn't worked for Billy Napier, and to say the least. And they got to cut bait with this guy. I mean, I love dogging on Florida, but I can't believe we found ourselves in a situation here where 7-5 is like reason for celebration. I mean, they were ecstatic this offseason.
Yeah, that's all we heard. And especially as a Miami fan, after the belt to ass that we gave them, and next year, and it is interesting, like you mentioned with Billy, kind of being able to get the fans to buy back in. And then now all of the ones that I've talked to, I just jumped on a Florida show just right before we started to record this. And I said, is it too late for Billy? Like if he turns this around in some miracle, they flip a switch and they play lights out on Saturday and, they've got they got Texas A&M, they've got some big time games. And everybody said no. They said basically everybody has jumped off the ride. We're done.
I tend to agree with that. And I think there's a good chance he gets fired on Sunday. They're off next week. So you'll have that over them from now to the end of time. You can be the one that officially ended the Napier experiment or whatever. They're off next week, and teams don't like to fire coaches at all, but if they're going to fire a coach, they like to do it a lot of times with a bye week coming up so that whoever they name the interim has sort of a couple of weeks to sort of try to gather the troops type of deal.
Yeah, Virginia Tech already broke the ice, UCLA. Yeah. $20 million buyout, but people find ways they'll figure out the money situation.
Yeah. And honestly, if the higher ups at Florida have made up their mind that Billy Napier is not going to be their coach next year, then they should fire him whether Miami or whether Florida wins this game or not.
I think that Uncle Lou probably has the balls to drop some numbers. I'll break the ice. This is what I had. 38-13, 25-point win. Again, 7.5-point favorite. Is this too? Am I buying into the Miami hype too much?
I don't know. They could score 38 if the wheels start to fall off. If the same Florida defense shows up that has showed up so far this season, I don't think you'll score 38. I mean, they have played well. They've given up 2 touchdowns all year, and somehow they're 1-2. Just tells you how bad they are offensively. One of the touchdowns they scored against LSU was a defensive touchdown. So they only gave up 1 touchdown to LSU. They only gave up 1 touchdown to South Florida. No touchdowns to Epstein Island. But their offense has just been a bit abysmal. I'd probably go a little lower than that, maybe something like 35-10, 35-13, 35-14, something like that. I could see Miami getting into the mid 30s. So that looks about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know I've seen the list of big time blue chip recruits has continued to grow. So I'm hoping that Mario wants to kind of rub it in a little bit, and as we said, kind of make an embarrassment out of Florida. That's big for recruiting. That's an in-state rival.
To the Miami fans that are watching, stop typing. I know you're typing right now about Carson Beck. I'm not that Georgia fan, bud. I'm on record and never wavered that Carson Beck is one of the best one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. I said it last year when he was at Georgia. I said it when he declared for the draft. I said it when he changed his mind, and I said it when he enrolled at Miami. I said it all off season, and I'm still saying it now. Carson, I'm not the rest of. There are a lot of Georgia fans.
Hey, you're in the minority, I think, with Georgia fans.
Yeah, when somebody transfers away from you, all of a sudden they're terrible. He was the problem, and now we no longer need him.
Yeah, we never wanted that guy anyways, right?
Right, that's what they said. That's not me. Carson Beck was the best player on Georgia's team last year. Period. Without Carson Beck, last year Georgia goes 8-4 probably. So I'm not one of those people. I'm not surprised at all that Carson Beck is off to a great start. He's behind the best offensive line in college football. And honestly, he needs that because he ain't doing a lot of dancing around back there. That I can tell you. So him behind, I mean, he's got enough time to make a ham sandwich back there. He's going to carve up the majority of the defenses he plays. He's got all day back there. And another thing I'll bring up too about Miami before we get out of here. I was worried about y'all losing Restrepo. He was, which was one of my favorite players in all of college football the last couple of years.
Yep.
I played football through high school. I wasn't, I have a joke. I say, if I would have been a little bit taller, a little bit heavier, a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, and a little bit better. In other words, I wasn't very good.
Interesting. I'm in the same boat.
I was undersized though. So I've always been drawn to like the undersized players who have really good careers, whether it's like a Barry Sanders type at running back or Restrepo last year. Georgia had Ladd McConkey, who kind of fits that same kind of category. Mm-hmm. I loved watching Restrepo play, and he was like an eraser last year. Like the few times Cam Ward would get in trouble in the pocket, he'd just dump it to Restrepo on a 12-yard crossing route, and he'd take off with it. I loved watching Restrepo play, and I was like, how are they going to replace this guy? But y'all done went out and found this friggin' 5'5". What is this guy? This kid here. What is he? 17? He
turned 18 today. At the time of filming this video, today? He's 18. Yep.
Yeah. What's his
Mr.
name?
Malachi Tony. Yeah. Did you see,
Tony.
Man? The pick that Carson Beck threw was not even intended for Tony, but he just got so vertical because he thought the pass was to him that it tipped it. It was supposed to go to Johnson behind him. That dude, that guy is something else. He's going to be special. And I'm one of those people that always says, a freshman, a young guy coming in, probably not going to see a whole lot of snaps. But that guy, he's good.
Yeah, I was watching the Notre Dame game, and the first thing that jumped out at me, and I was asking the chat, who is this? What is he? Is he number 10, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, who is this? Who is this guy? Like, I like this guy already because he's small, but now he's making plays too. He's really good. And then that's really the only time that's really the only Miami game I tried to watch the South Florida game, but the weather delay messed everything up with the time that the other games were on and everything. So I didn't get to watch.
Don't worry, it was never a game.
Well, I didn't think it would be. Yeah, I took Miami minus the 18. I saw that blowout coming, and I think y'all are in store for another one this week. And you could be punching Billy Napier's ticket out of town. You could collect his buyout and get to stepping.
I think so. Well, Lou, I appreciate you for taking the time for little old Coop. You want to? We could complete it. We could look. If you do this, we could complete it.
Yeah, now you ask if this is the best I can. I'll give you this again, but I'm not throwing up to you, man. They'll be done trolled me into oblivion on here.
The offer's always on the table. I mean, it's too late now because the season's already started. But off season, we always have the bandwagon fan applications. More than welcome. I go through and hand approve each one of them. So you just let me know.
All right. I love you, Coop. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you, Lou. Thanks.
See you later.
Again, do not be shy. It's Florida week. I want to see the comment section going crazy in this one. Remember, though, guys, we're all one big happy college football family. But at the end of the day, I got to say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Coach Coop, peace out. I'll see y'all in the next one.